Hello and welcome to whatever this is, Gilead's Fantasy Art Patreon page. Thank you once again for being here. I want to update you on what's going on. For one thing, you guys send me some money every month, and without you, I just couldn't be doing any of the things that I'd be doing, have been doing. I'd be washing dishes or something like that. So I want to show you where your money's gone, at least some of it. Recently, a bunch of art supplies, charcoal pencils, little white ink. Has been very fun. This is a little pack of white ink rollerball pens. I've tried some before and decided that I liked them, so I bought some more. And they're very cool, especially on the little toned paper sketchbooks. They're really fun. And then a variety of very dark charcoal sticks and some white charcoal sticks for contrast. So binder clips I needed. This is something that I'm a little excited about because it's just so gosh darn pretty. I found a deal on Amazon for acrylic paints. Liquitex 48 little tubes of paint in a box. And they are wonderful little bright colored acrylic paints. Last year, I painted almost exclusively in oils, and I learned a lot. I had a good time. Most informative, and I find it hard to express why, the most informative parts were these little landscape studies that I did, and I think it's because I didn't pick at them the way I do with something that I cared more about. Part of that is fun, part of it disturbs me. It's like, why do you do better with stuff that you care less about? But it's been a little bit of a theme in my artistic life that if I can approach something not like I don't give a damn or I don't like it or something like that, but if I can just approach it with reckless abandon, and rather than feeling like, oh, this really matters, I've got to get this perfect, the client's going to be mad, or it's something, my reputation hangs on it, my whole future hangs on it, then I get really uptight and the work shows it, and the work's ugly, and I don't have any fun, and you can tell. So there was something really bust loose and devil may care about those particular paintings, and I got a lot out of doing that, and it kind of put it into my head that there's been something that's missing from my life in the last couple of years, and it's going to be difficult to not say this wrong. I used to be a sign painter, and I used to go out and do what was called window splashes, which is a painting directly on the glass of stores and restaurants, pizza shops, thousands of pizza shops. And there was something very, very gratifying about just walking up to this giant blank window, and people would be watching me and wondering, what in the world's this guy doing? And I'd just go up and I would just start painting, and this big painting would just blossom into existence, and people would just be astounded, and they'd come out and say, how did you do that? And there was something very gratifying, not only about the response, but about the immediacy of the work. The work was actually messy as hell, but from a distance, it all really cinched together, and it was great, and there was just something really fun. Those were called window splashes, very bright colored, usually black outlines, very messy on close scrutiny, but wild and fun. And every now and then, when I'm drawing a drawing, if I think about it in terms of a painting, sometimes I'll think that would be more of a window splash, as opposed to an oil painting, as opposed to a classic book illustration or a magazine illustration. There's there's sort of categories of looks, at least in my mind, of how something ought to look and how that drawing ought to translate into paint. And so I think to myself sometimes, that's more of a window splash. The other day, a friend of mine said, you should do a Christmas octopus. And a lot of times people will make suggestions like that to me, and I'll say, ha, that's a great idea. No, I'm not going to do that. But this, for whatever reason, just really appealed. Just kind of thing. I had this image, and I started drawing on my little sketch pad, and I came up with this. I did a little thumbnail, but I came up with this, and I came home and sketched it out, and got violently ill. Stella and I have both been ill for a week. So I came back and just finished it now. And it was a lot of fun, and it's very, very window splashy. Window splashes are definitely something that you want to do acrylics for, because acrylics dry today. And window splashes, a definitive characteristic of window splashes is the client, if there was a client, the client had no money. They had no patience, they had no time, they were late. The promotion was supposed to have started yesterday, and so you're here, and they're just like, oh, we gotta get this done. And so you go out and you do something, and anything you do just wildly exceeded their expectations, and certainly exceeded whatever they could have done on their own. And so they were always happy with it, and I had a minimum price that I charged $50 for a window splash. I charged $5 a square foot, so up to $10, up to 10 square feet was going to be $50. That's a pretty respectable sign. Most of them were actually even bigger than that. But even if I did something as little as this, I was going to charge $50. So that has followed me into today. And I still have that idea, that notion of a minimum price, $50 piece of artwork, which is becoming increasingly unrealistic, especially if I'm really doing something that I take a lot of time on and really fuss with. But window splashes are not fussy. The whole definition of them is that they're fast, they're loose, they're done in an almost savage approach. The paint's dry very quickly. You can paint on top of it, and I really miss producing in that fashion. Okay, I don't miss painting signs. I don't miss being out in the sun or doing pizzas. But I miss that kind of immediate, raw, energetic approach to paint. Oil painting is not like that. Oil painting generally, except for these, oil painting generally is slow and methodical, and especially when you're a little bit new to it like myself, you can go in circles and get all muddy and realize, that's not working, and wipe the whole thing off the canvas and start over again, and it lacks that gratification. So if that sounds to you like, oh, Gilead's changing directions again, he goes in circles and he does this all the time, he just changes direction. No, I'm not changing direction, but I don't mind working in multiple directions. And so there are some, like I say, there are some drawings that when I finish the drawing, that's definitely an oil painting, and that's how it's going to get executed. And there's other drawings that, hey, that's definitely a window splash. There are some of these that you've seen from old posts, the before and after pictures really kind of mucked up the original drawing of the girl to where she's, hardly resembles the previous drawing of the girl. In my mind, when I see that done as a painting, that's a window splash. That's not an oil painting. That's a window splash. So there's going to be some more of those. This painted on this kind of level, and I'm still also very much enjoying these little gals, and This is just on a paper that I have kicking around. Part of the idea is to get rid of the old paper. Part of the idea is to get rid of the sketch, get the idea, out of the queue, as it were. This is actually the backside of the front cover of one of my sketch pads because I recycle. I just can't help myself. And so that's where we are. And we're in the middle of December and Christmas is coming up. I hope I will be tuning in more often. But if I don't, have a Merry Christmas and thank you so much for being here. All right. Bye-bye.